The McDowell Sonoran Preserve is almost 30,600 acres. A lot of people don't realize it is the largest urban land preserve in North America and the fourth largest in the world. It's also the largest preserve or park owned by a city in the world. Out here in the Sonoran Desert, we have a non-native species of buffalo grass that's identical to the species in Australia right now that's contributing to the over 27 million acres of loss from the wildfires and the over 1 billion animals that have been lost in this tragedy. The work that we're doing here into buffalo grass research has the ability to impact our partners in Australia and around the world.
Some of the research that we're doing is to determine the most effective and also the safest ways to control buffalo grass and other non-native grasses. And so our goal is that by looking at all of these different treatments, we're able to determine which one actually effectively controls this grass, as well as what the effects are on the native plant community, which is something that most other studies have not looked at, because it is a really important component to make sure that we are not adversely affecting our native ecosystem.
Our soil crust is the natural living layer on the top of the desert. Its primary purpose is to keep everything here. With the degradation of soil crust over the last 50 years of agriculture, farming, and human impact in the desert, it has been removed at phenomenal rates. So the work we're doing to reintroduce soil crust into our environment can not only have an impact in the Sonoran Desert with reducing dust storms, but could have an impact globally. Dust storms are a monumental issue in the Middle East.
So we're working with some of our partners to determine the best and most effective ways to reintroduce soil crust into disturbed lands. It affects regrowth of native plants because it can actually provide additional nutrients for seeds so that they can grow more readily in our natural environments.
How awesome is it going to be that our research here in Scottsdale has a truly global impact?
The stewards actually predated the preserve. They were called the McDowell Sonoran Land Trust at that time. But the early participants were the ones that were the activists that were responsible for creating the preserve. So that steward group and that steward legacy is what has propelled us from the very beginning.
The McDowell Sonoran Conservancy really has helped me through my retirement life. I was able to continue being an educator and a hiker. I've been amazed at the volunteerism in this organization.
The Conservancy is able to have potentially a global impact through our stewardship programs. We get calls frequently from organizations not only around the country, but around the world to figure out how they can, much like us, have an organization that takes care of something that it doesn't even own. How we can organize so many volunteers and environmental activists to conserve and take care of our environment.
There are several reasons for the success of the Conservancy. None of that would be possible, of course, if we didn't have the donations from all the supporters that allow us to run the programs that we have. Success being through education of children, education of adults. More and more of the world is becoming arid. And it's important to have organizations that understand an interface between arid lands and the surrounding communities and how they can work together to keep some of the arid lands so that we understand what they are, but also to let the communities enjoy them.
Expedition! Are you excited?
Yes! Expedition Days is our flagship education program, which brings 650 Title I students from the Valley into the preserve for a day of education, a day of interactive lessons to do with the Conservancy and with the preserve, and also to kind of introduce people to their future sustainable partners in the youth and the generation of the young kids that are coming.
I learned that buffalo bushes are bad for the environment and non-native to the environment.
We have over 30,000 acres of resource in the preserve itself, so it's a perfect outdoor classroom to get kids involved.
Dear McDowell Sonoran Conservancy, I really enjoyed going to the field trip because me and my family don't have the opportunity to go places like that, and I'm so thankful that I got to go.
Taking all of our third grade classes last year, it really made a difference and it made an impact.
We got to touch the snakes and we learned a lot about them. I learned that some snakes eat the same snakes.
I think the students need to have an opportunity to learn what the desert is all about. It'll help them have a better perspective on life, on living, on interest, on things that they might want to do.
So I just want everybody to know that you should just recycle so animals and people don't get sick.
McDowell Sonoran Conservancy. Thank you for the free field trip that we went to. It was so much fun being over there with all those generous people. I love the activities that we did together. I think it's important that you do these field trips more often with other schools. It is a fun way to learn about the desert.
We have about 95% of our students that are second language learners. A lot of our students come from homeless environments. It's either UMOM or Salvation Army. So a lot of them just don't have the means to participate in a lot of the things that Arizona has to offer. And we had the opportunity because people donated and we were able to go without cost.
Disadvantaged youth have a high proportion of lack of access to STEM education opportunities. Through our education programs at the Conservancy, we are able to bring hundreds of third and fourth graders through the preserve every single year, teaching them about the fundamentals of science and getting them excited to learn more about science and the difference they make in our environment.
This field trip positively impacted my students because they were able to use all of their sensories. They were able to see things, hear things, touch things, and we were able to come back and have multiple discussions about what they experienced.
It's important to learn about nature. The desert's an awesome place to learn about.
In the past year, the Conservancy got its first international accreditation from the IUCN. We are the Sonoran Desert Plant Species Specialist Group for the entire world.
We're taking the program and aligning it with Arizona state standards. They can utilize it as part of their lesson plan for a part of their educational programming and curriculum for the year, so they don't have to justify it. It's actually part of the education that they do for the year. If we don't instill this sense of wonder in nature with other people, they can't go out and promulgate the story. We have the potential to take the education program to higher levels, broader curriculums. So you could take interactive studies like the Expedition Days, scale, model, transfer them to different schools. We can take educators and teach them how to teach our curriculum. That's the future potential of dollars that are given to the Conservancy.
What's also exciting is how much potential we have to grow our global impact thanks to the support of people like you.